Hello everybody, it's Zach coming to you from here from DarkCon Entertainment, and I just got done watching the newest Vin Diesel movie, Bloodshot, and I just wanted to give my quick review on it. Now, it's nice to show another piece of comic book property that isn't DC or Marvel get its own movie adaptation, and that's the biggest reason as to why that I was kind of excited about seeing this. Seeing as how when I've gone reading into the origins of Bloodshot and when I first started to seeing the trailers of it shared on Facebook and so forth, um, I found out that it's based off of a comic book superhero named, well, Bloodshot. And so I was thinking to myself, oh, a comic book property that isn't Marvel or DC. Finally, we're going to start to see a little bit more competition in the game there. Watchmen, I think, is another property that isn't Marvel or DC related, but I digress. But all the same, more competition in the field of comic book at movie adaptations. So, is Bloodshot any good? Is it worth the watch? I do gotta say that there are some points within this movie that make me go thinking that Vin Diesel's acting was. It's not as cool as, say, in Riddick. I mean, in Riddick, he was a whole lot more badass and a whole lot more cool, in my opinion. But it's at least better than his acting as, well, what's his face in the Fast and Furious saga, or of what I've seen so far of Fast and Furious anyways. I've only seen the first one, fourth one, and the seventh one, as far as movies that include Vin Diesel anyways. I've seen the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off movie with just, Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham's characters, but that didn't include Vin Diesel, of course. But I digress. But the acting from Vin Diesel was alright, and Bloodshot himself is a pretty cool character. There's some decent action scenes. The one elevator action scene going towards the end of the movie, and by the way, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers here, because honestly, there's not a whole lot here to spoil. Well, actually, I guess there is, sort of, but I'll get to that here in the end. But the action scenes were pretty decent, like the one slow-mo action scene with all the red lighting going on. You go obviously seeing that in the trailer, so obviously they were going to include it in the movie. That action scene, it was pretty well shot. It was very well stylized, I say, and it was cool. And the action scene in the elevator, it was also like a kind of a mild chase scene as well. That was all right. Decent action scenes. Not a whole lot to go for as far as investable characters. I mean, Bloodshot, there is a little bit of relatability with him, but I'll get to that in the spoiler section of this review. The villain, there's nothing much going for the villains, although, oh god, what's his name? I cannot remember his name, but is like the main minion of the bad guy side. Like there was the top bad guy, and then there's his like top lieutenant, the guy with the robot legs. He is a giant douche. Let me tell you, he's very unlikable. But maybe that's what makes him a good villain, is he's just so unlikable. But as far as the actual main villain, I can't even remember the names quite so well, and I just got done watching the movie. I guess that goes to show how little attention I was paying to the movie, not remembering the names. I at least remember Ray Garrison is the actual name of Bloodshot, of Vin Diesel's character. But villains, there is one part in the movie of where that the main big bad guy puts the robot legs guy in his place, and it's just a really sick burn. So I guess this is the point of where that I'll get into spoiler territory. The one line that is told is basically Robot Legs guy, he was being a giant dick over the fact that Ray Garrison would be so angry and pissed at the fact that his at the fact that his wife was shot, And the main bigger bad guy, the guy in the suit, he goes put him in his place by saying, it's just amazing as to how this guy, and goes to show as to how invested he is to have nothing stop him to reach his goal of avenging his wife. Goes to show that he is willing to sacrifice his own life, something along those lines, in the name of his own wife. But I guess you wouldn't know that because you don't have anything that you love that much. And somebody in the room with them too says burn, and that's exactly what the rest of the audience, I guess that is what he was emanating, that the audience was thinking. Burn. Like, yeah, it was quite a sick burn when that moment was happening. It was quite cool. This movie does play on kind of a bit of a cliche story arc, which I guess is probably the biggest reason as to why this movie didn't score so well, because we've seen it in so many other movies done in, I guess, arguably better ways. Basically, the main protagonist is being manipulated by the bigger organization, who turns out to be evil, in order to, kill a whole bunch of people who are like enemies of the big bad organization. So yeah, I guess it's understandable as to why this movie is kind of forgettable overall. And yeah, the part that I was saying that is investable with Ray Garrison, though, Vin Diesel's character, is the fact that his wife, like, opening up at the very beginning, his wife is ultimately killed, and Vin Diesel gives a fairly convincing acting performance, and it's somewhat investable. But as we go to later find out, his wife isn't dead, so that is kind of thrown in our face. And then another plot twist happens, that not only is his wife not dead, but his wife was actually not his wife at all. Basically, it was his ex-girlfriend or something like that. And then there's like 2 plot twists on that little arc. But I guess it's sort of to make up for the fact that the wife is not dead, because basically Bloodshot, the character Ray Garrison, aka Bloodshot, is being like mentally manipulated. He's being like hacked into by the organization that is controlling him because of the nanites. Because of the nanites that is in his system, they're able to control him with computers and remotely and so forth, manipulate his memories, and kind of in some sort of fashion program him in how he's supposed to react. Not program him on what exactly he's going to do, because Bloodshot does have his own free will, but ultimately it's his memory that they program, that they control, ultimately. And basically what they installed in his memory, back on my main point here, basically what they installed in his memory was that his ex-girlfriend was really his wife. But then on the second plot twist in that little arc right there of this movie, he finds out that it was all a lie. So I guess in a way it was kind of investable. I mean, how would you react if you find out that the relationship that you remembered happening never fucking happened? Sad, really. So, take it for what you will. How would I rate the movie? I would say it's a good 6 out of 10 at least. It's overall forgettable, but it's at least worth one watch, I would say anyways. And it did not strike that well on the box office. So are we going to see an expansion on this particular universe right here, the Bloodshot universe, I guess we can call it? Likely not, because it did not strike well on the box office. I think I remember it not like making a profit at all, and coronavirus pandemic did not help with that. Caused all the theaters to shut down, so therefore they had to stop premiering of Bloodshot early. So that's unfortunate for them. And the same thing happened for Pixar's Onward too, so that's sad on those fronts. But Bloodshot in particular, overall a failure, financial failure, and a critical failure for that matter. But me personally, I say it's worth a single watch anyways. But that's all I have to say about this movie. See you all later. Have a good night and God bless.